Welcome back to TYT Sports with J.R. Jackson and Michael Shore. So we wrapped up our best and worst of the week. Make sure to click on those links and clips. They could be here, down here. We don't know. Maybe click on Michael if you want to see the best and worst of the NFL Week 1. But we've seen some interesting trends in Week 1, also known as the jump to conclusions. We now know everything about the NFL after 1 week. But, and I say that sarcastically because I found out that a lot of the people who comment don't understand sarcasm. Right. But having said all of that, we're curious if there's a changing of the guard in the NFL.
It's only 1 week.
It's only 1 week.
How are we supposed to know what's going to happen the rest of this season?
So after 1 week, here are some of the headlines that I've read. And this is literally word for word what they will say. Peyton Manning is not the Peyton Manning of old. He's done. The Broncos are in trouble. Which, granted, from the way he played, could be something to worry about because we knew last year his arm throwing power was pretty much out the window. And now his accuracy is in question. Still too early to make that call. And then you have the Cowboys who, on paper, were supposed to beat up the Giants pretty badly, and we discussed in the worst of the week why that almost didn't happen. In addition to that, I believe I'm missing one, the Seattle Seahawks, even without Kam Chancellor, still giving up a lot of points to the St. Louis Rams, your St. Louis Rams, J.R. Jackson, and not that dominant defense seeing Nick Foles.
But actually, another huge oddity was the Oakland Raiders only scored 13 points and got beat 33-13. They didn't score any points until the fourth quarter. Usually the Raiders are on fire. Their defense is great and their offense is even better.
By the way, you talk about that in seriousness. The Raiders, the Bengals had lost 13 straight in Oakland.
Really?
So yes, it is a changing of the guard. It's something that the Bengals won in Oakland for the first time in 14 games. I think if I would point to one team that I think is more of a change of the guard, it's the Saints. I think that more than any of these. The Seattle Seahawks were average. They were above average on the road last year. They're not a spectacular road team as they were 2 years ago. But that can also change. It was a good football game. And they have defensive issues that other teams would love to have. So they still have a good defense. Peyton Manning is older. Yeah, he's not the same quarterback as the Peyton Manning of old, but nobody's the same quarterback as the blank of old. So I think that, his accuracy, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. How's that line going to hold together? There were injuries on that line. It's going to be a different season for Peyton Manning. I still think he's a really good quarterback, and I think a lot of teams would like to have him. I think that's not an alarm bell I would pull. But the Saints, they have 25 new players on the Saints. And that's a lot. That's more than half your team that you dress, or about half the team you dress, and that's big. So I think that's one place to look at the changing guard, and the Bills. I mean, the Bills playing amazing defense, a serious defensive coach there. They looked really good. They have a three-pronged running attack. They finally have somebody that they can throw to and run with. I think it's an interesting team to watch. But I wouldn't sound any alarm. I'm not an alarmist generally, but I wouldn't unless I was the same.
It's on Buffalo. I think it's one of those fascinating teams. You have Rex Ryan in there, and everyone had their mixed feelings about him in New York. But then when he goes to Buffalo, no one really actually hated that guy. There was never, no matter what clownish things happened or seemingly were his fault in New York, no one actually really disliked the guy. And then also you bring in LaShawn McCoy, and I forget he was there until you see this explosive screen pass out of the backfield. I was like, who is that rookie with the wheels,
Right.
So all these things are coming together, and now people have to pay attention because they looked great yesterday.
They looked really good yesterday.
And even at the quarterback position, Tyrod Taylor looked pretty comfortable, including some deep ball threats that were. It was enough to show that of all the teams, and not just all the teams, really the AFC East. When you even just look back at the scoreboard itself, the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins.
About the 4-0 AFC East?
The 4-0 AFC East. They are undefeated, Michael, sure. So I wanted to mention, too, that there's some changing of not changing of the guard. The Lions look exactly the same. Yeah. Giving up 30 or 20 unanswered points to the San Diego Chargers, and Phillip Rivers as he throws like this, only elbows, no shoulders.
Yep. Sidearm elbow throws.
But yeah, it just overall, it seems like we do love to jump to conclusions. I don't say we as in the panel of we. I mean the greater
sports
American populace.
No, sports fans do. They always do. They always.
But out of all of those conclusions that have been prematurely made, which do you guys think actually come to fruition in terms of, do you actually believe that Jameis Winston will be as bad as he looked? Do you guys believe that Peyton Manning's Broncos may fall short of the playoffs or just, again, an early exit? Are the Colts going to turn around their season? Again, I know it's week 1, but this is all for argumentative and debate's sake here. Michael, pick one of these teams that you want to side with in terms of doom
In terms of doom? Well, I mean, I think I picked the Saints as my team of doom.
They're doomed?
I mean, I don't know that they're doomed. They're in a pretty easy division for football. But they're the ones I think that are in the most trouble. I'm not, listen, the Broncos are a Peyton Manning injury away from being a disastrous football team, which automatically says that Peyton Manning's a really good football player. So I think the conventional wisdom is that he'll figure it out and they'll be in there. And they also don't have the toughest division. And so to say they're not going to make the playoffs, I'm still going to stick with the Saints as being my, I'd be most nervous if I was the Saints.
Okay.
I guess somewhat twofold, and I'll make it quick. But Jameis Winston is going to have a tough season, I think. That's the one I'm jumping aboard on. Doesn't mean he's going to be considered a bust. Doesn't mean he's going to be considered the biggest bust of all time because people can't wait to throw that label on someone, which I think is a little bit of jealousy. So why throw that on someone? This is still a human being who's working his whole life. I think his tweet before he got on was, been working my whole life for this moment, let's go, whatever. And then they kind of mocked him for it. I said, the kid is excited. Let him be excited. He's about to start his first NFL game. Calm down. Yeah, and the two picks were disastrous picks.
Right.
Fine, he's a rookie. But I think it's going to be a tough season, but it's not just going to be because of him. This team is also doing a lot of shuffling. So it's okay. He's going to have a tough season. 4 wins maybe. But but then outside of that, which everyone kind of wrote off last season, which I think is also going to happen again, but no one's saying it now because it's been so far gone, is Johnny Manziel gets to jump into the game after a ridiculous, needless dive.
Helicopter.
Why? What are you doing? You know your backup is Johnny Manziel, right? So
you know your starting QB is Josh McCown, right?
So, I mean, I guess he wasn't thinking, but he throws his head at 2 defenders who can't wait to hit his head, so he gets spun around, whatever. Josh McCown goes down. Manziel comes in and throws his first NFL touchdown pass. It was great. It looks beautiful, actually.
And then keep watching that game.
And then Johnny Manziel continues to look like Johnny Manziel, and the Browns, of course, as well. They end up losing 31-10. But no one's even mentioned him because they're like, we wrote him off last year, and I think they're going to be right again.
That's a fair statement to make, Leah. Yeah, it was funny. No money signs, at least. I kept noticing that he's like that. Since he put that away, maybe he's matured. Still think he's Johnny Football. Regardless, not as good as Brian Football, who also didn't look good for the Houston Texans. Regardless, that was our Is There a Changing of the Guard clip? We do not know. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.